What's going on, everybody? It's Jeff Lightsy Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have another discussion tonight. We have Mr. T. Khalik and Brother Tony Lindsay here today to talk about some of the politics and some of the things that are taking place throughout media, right? And one of the things that it seems to be a common incident or common throughout all the media is the use of black women to push certain agendas. I'm posed this question out there to you, Tony. First, what are some of the things that you are seeing throughout specifically the liberal or democratic media that shows that made you, or maybe you have some concerns over as far as them pushing black women to the forefront to push certain agendas?
Well, I think this conversation actually started with a post I think I had sent to some of you guys, basically saying that I found it interesting seeing how many black women continue to support and defend the Democratic Party and so-called liberal media, even though they continue to disrespect them and throw them away at the drop of a dime. I think so many of our women, they've bought into this lie of inclusion that they fail to see the forest for the trees. Like, it's no coincidence that the loudest black misandrists in media are black women. I mean, we got to face that. Oftentimes they believe that they're speaking in love, about our men. But the truth is, many of them, they utilize their positions to chastise and propagandize black men under the guise of quote unquote helping them, while using like white supremacist tropes to reinforce, false narratives about us. So I just think that I'm pretty much tired of seeing our women being used as weapons against, our own community. I don't think that we should be trapped in this hyper partisanship where we view the truth as basically which political party is the one that's saying it to us. I mean, we can think for ourselves. And I just feel it's really annoying to always see the main faces that they put up there to push propaganda as of late, especially from what I'm seeing, is black women.
Now, T, I want to ask you this. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. You all are those are some of the same concerns that you're seeing? Is that do you feel like that's a way to kind of divide our community in as far as promoting one gender and trying to push one other one to the back? Is that something you see as well?
Oh, absolutely. Because when you divide the black community, especially the genders, you make sure that the family maintains a dysfunction to where the children are dysfunctional, and you just have just chaos all around. And the reason why black women are used is I understand why is because of the I call it the oppression hierarchy that liberals have. First, is the LGBT is at the top, the woman's at the second, and then whatever minority skin color that you are. So when you have an African American woman pushing agendas that's toxic to the black community, and you say something about her as a black man, and you're not attacking her gender,
Right.
you are attacking what she's saying. We don't get, 'cause, we will say the same thing if a black man would say it. Instead of them attacking your message, they're just gonna call you a sexist
Yep.
and a misogynist. That's just a way to stop you from attacking them. I mean, just think about how Kamala Harris, like, if you criticize her as a black man, you're just name called.
You hate black women.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's that right there that stops all type of criticism. So you put the black woman up there, and you virtually can't say anything, no matter how much logic you use. So yeah,
Right.
that's what I see it as, man. And it does minimalize the black man, because if we say something that's controversial to the narrative, and I think Tony brought this up the last podcast, you'll have a black woman named Simone call all black men out and say we don't even have a voice. Well, like I
Yeah.
can imagine if a black man would say that about a black woman,
Yeah. How
the
dare you
pushback would
even
be, yeah, how
comment on
dare you?
this?
But yeah, that's what it's about, man. It's that it creates a narrative where we cannot criticize them just because of their gender and where they are on the oppression hierarchy.
Right. I think gender politics has been like one of the primary weapons that have been used against us as a community. Everything you see, it's always and it's this is not like a oppression Olympics or whatever you want to call it, but it's like there's so much praise. Like if you ever hear like um protect black women, which we should, listen to black women. Black women saved the Democratic Party. They saved democracy, all of this stuff. I think all of those things, they just kind of play to the ego, all these praise mechanisms, and it distracts. And unfortunately, I believe it distracts the collective from seeing that no real progress is being made.
I
And
think a
also,
lot of
go ahead.
go for it, T. Go for it, T.
Well, no, I'm glad you brought that up, Tony, because I remember, I don't know if y'all remember, it was in 2016 when Roy Moore of Alabama, was going up against Doug Jones. And what the Democratic Party did is they brought a lot of celebrities into Alabama, really telling black people to vote. Like, hey, you guys need to vote. Now, when the voting turned out, it was interesting. It was 98% black women voted for Doug Jones, of course, the Democrat, and 90% of black men voted for Doug Jones also. But the way the media and Twitter spun it, they spun it as black women saved the day.
Yeah.
They were saying things like, black men, you need to take note. I'm like, the brothers vote, even though I disagree with that vote. So I'm like, you guys let them just swindle you for a vote. I'm like, 90% black men voted too. You guys are acting like black men didn't do anything, but that was intentional. The way they praised black women, said black women saved America, as if black men did absolutely nothing, as if we were just rebellious. So yeah, this is intentional gender war, which is why they use the black women to push these agendas.
Yeah, I remember when, even just with this last presidential election, I think black people as a whole came out and voted Democrat. Now, something like 94% of black women voted for Joe Biden, right? And about 88 or 89% of black men voted for Joe Biden. So they came in a close second, right? But the amount of chastisement I saw in the media against black men, and most of that chastisement I saw coming from people like Joyanne Reed, these black female liberal talking heads that they put up there to push this propaganda. And when you talk about the voting patterns from that last election, what's funny is, the number of votes from black men that voted for Donald Trump, it did increase. But the number of votes from black women voting for Donald Trump, it doubled. But no one's talking about that. It was a smaller amount, but it doubled.
Now, I do have a question for you all. So when it comes to just Democratic media, we understand that the Democratic Party has black people in the chokehold, right? For a long time, I mean, for the last few years, it was because of Donald Trump, and now it seems that they are pushing that, that V word that rhymes with Maxine. That seems to be like the definitely the one of the things that have kept them in control as far as getting in the black people or having black people in their pocket. What would you say though when it comes to the men? Wouldn't you say that the men have the similar, if not the same problem when it comes to the Democratic Party as far as like just putting all their eggs in that basket? Or do you see a significant difference between the representative as far as the black people just strictly being black women, or do you not see a large number of black men also doing the same thing as far as promoting that party and telling the rest of the people that that's the only way that they should go?
Oh, it's all of us. It's a lot. It's both. I mean, it is a large portion of the community. We have always been the sure thing. When it comes to elections, when it comes to votes, we've always been a sure thing. So that's pretty much why the Democratic Party has never really had to do anything substantial, well, anything at all for black people. They don't even promise you anything anymore, but we have to also acknowledge the weight of accountability, because now, while we are all responsible for this, at the same time, we cannot deny the fact that black women have been they've been propped up ahead of black men when it comes to these conversations, when it comes to the media, when it comes to influence. So if you're kind of leading the discussion, you got to hold some accountability when it comes to, the unfavorable results. I mean, everybody was talking about black women saved, democracy, saved, we got Joe Biden in, and now look, look what's happening right now. Like, this is total, like, totalitarianism, authoritarianism. Like, I don't see what's up. Y'all not gonna take the blame for that?
I would say there's a slight difference. Yes, I would say black men, unfortunately, the majority, if we were all going to vote Democrat. That is a fact. We see the numbers. But
Mhm.
also, I would say the majority of outspoken black people against the Democrat Party, if you see on YouTube or write books or just or take an independent and kind of attack both sides, is black men. You see a lot of black
That's
men
true.
question that, and I believe that's the problem right there. Especially if that black man has any type of celebrity fame to him, and I take it and look, I don't see celebrities as any type of intellectual talking heads. But I take example of Kanye West when in the whole Trump thing. He never told black people to vote Republican. He just said you guys need to think independently, know what you're voting for. And he's got attacked for that. And it's like that. Black men are the ones outspoken going out there saying, "Hey, black people, we don't have to be Democrats." That is the problem with black men that the liberals don't like. Even though we are on board, too many of us are speaking out against that, and they don't want too many black men. Because of our skin color, we are in the oppression hierarchy, but because we are men, we're seen as patriarchal. That's why the whole
which
sexism,
is a whole
the
lie.
whole feminist, toss match. It's
Makes no
going
sense.
against black men to shut our voices up. It's crazy because they know that if we keep running our mouth and we're not white, we may have an impact.
And you know,
I want to ask you something, Tony. I want to come to that because T, you brought up some interesting points. You talked about the feminism movement, Tony. Do you believe that feminism or the rise of feminism or what for whatever that may be is a reason why black women feel like they need to be at the forefront or that they should be at the forefront because this movement has told them for years and for decades that they've been put last and pushed to the back and they're the most, X, Y, and Z. But now they feel like they have that platform, they have that voice, and maybe it's easier to potentially get them to say your point if you tell them, hey, I'm going to put you in front of a camera and give you that audience that black women in particular haven't been able to have. Do you think that's why they are catapulted or are able to be told to do certain kind of things and they're willing to do it without really having any balance?
well, yeah, I think. See, I think the most clever lie that was told to black women was convincing them that the problems that they have with their men are the same as the problems that white women have with their men. And when you talk about them not having certain opportunities and them being oppressed, and you know I think we're not identifying who is the one oppressing you. That's the lie. Black men don't hold any power in this society, bro. They don't. All of this toxic masculinity stuff, all of this, the patriarchy. What power do black men hold in society? What power have we ever held in society? So it's like it's crazy to me to see that we can be so easily divided based upon this lie. And for me, the only root cause I can see from that is just this weird desire to be included, to be accepted. So I find that to be a real self-esteem problem because it's like you really want to relate to your oppressor so much. You want to listen, I'm gonna be honest with you, right? I feel like so many women when they decide to cape for these democratic policies, these Democratic Party policies, and they repeat all of this propaganda. They don't realize that they're trading their loyalty to the community, whether wittingly or not. They're trading it for an overseer position over it, and people got to talk about it. Let's be real.
And I'm glad you brought that up because the thing is, what we have to understand in the black community is we have a gender war and we have a family problem and we have a lot of social problems. And this is mainly rooted due to the relationships between black men and women and us not working together. Because then what happens is that our children grows up in chaos and continues this. And also, a lot of black women have been sexually molested. And this is large part due that there's no active fathers in the homes to protect their daughters. And also, if there's no fathers in the homes to raise their son, how is a son supposed to know how to treat a man? Especially, what if the son was growing up in a chaotic home where his mother was a really unruly, I don't want to say the type of words, but just out there. How would that program his mind on how women should be? You know, if I was, an African American woman, I would want the black man to rise on the same level so that at least the black man would stay at home, raise the kids, leave the community, and build businesses. But when you have this little friction like this, and young black boys are seeing that black women are better off being independent, why would they want to take responsibility to raise their kids or responsibility to do anything when they see that their mothers or women can do it all? So we have to understand that this message that is primarily being pushed on the outside, I can't blame our people. This is ideology being pushed on the outside. This is policy being forced to keep us that way. Our people have to wake up and attack this instead of just keep, progressing it. And just because our women have been hurt in the past by black men, they somehow go to white feminism, which makes their situation worse
Right.
on
That's not
what they
going to
think
save
about
you.
black men.
That's true.
Now, one thing I want to say is, where do you? There's a question. So we know the thing that's taking place with Nicki Minaj right now, and I have yet that is pushing against the Democratic narrative, right? Why is it that now that we're seeing someone on the other side, a black woman on the other side of the technically Democratic narrative, that it doesn't seem to be any other black women kind of joining her or any kind of black person really in support of her. Whether they think she's right or wrong, there's nobody really speaking on it. T, I think you had something interesting before we started this live, but why do you think that there's no one really speaking on what's taking place with her but if she drops an album or says anything that's in support of Joe Biden or the Democratic Party, you'll get a ton of interest, a ton of support, a ton of likes. So why is it that you think that's taking place?
Because when it comes to black men and women, it doesn't even matter at this point. We're not supposed to be seen as any type of intellect speaking any type of truth to power, rather it be black man or black women. And what's happening to Nicki Minaj shows the utter hypocrisy of how Democrats talk about how they want to uplift and treat black women. She is being attacked, saying all the horrible names. I could just imagine if the right was attacking her, what the response would be. But you're not seeing no defense. And yes, a lot of African Americans, I hate to say, in the media, I'm not gonna say on the ground, but I'll say mostly in the media, talking heads in the entertainment are scared. Why? Is because their bosses are those same people that are coming after Nicki Minaj. If they say something, they may get canceled or deals may be stripped for them. So they have to be mealy mouth, quiet, can't really support her. They'll probably call her on the phone and say, "Hey, I agree with you," but they publicly can't say nothing. But what makes this fascinating to me, seeing how quiet they are, is then how then are you talking about white supremacy? I'm like, in what way are you criticizing white supremacy? Are you criticizing from the way the white liberal wants you to criticize them? Meaning the only white people that are bad are the conservative
Yes.
Republicans. And
Yep.
that's the white people we go after. But then these other white people are okay when they're the ones censoring you, when they're the ones pulling
Yep.
deals from you, when
Yep.
they're the ones controlling your speech. That's what's going on in the black community right now.
You know, it's funny. I also think that you spoke of the hypocrisy, right, of the Democratic Party, who's supposed to be, all about protecting and all of this for black women. But I also think that the response from Joy and Reed, I think that shows the hypocrisy of the solidarity of black women when it is put up against their loyalty to white liberals and the Democratic Party. I mean, and another thing that we got to also remember, Nicki Minaj didn't post talking about, oh, well, don't take it, don't do that. She didn't give anyone any advice. She said, I need to think about this because I have to travel, blah, blah, blah. She spoke about an experience from someone that she knew. All she did was question it. That's it. So to see to see people just go hard like that after you just merely question something, I think that's very telling of how white liberals see black people, because you can't even dare to think for yourself. And there's something, and what I always say is, you know, we have a responsibility to question everything that we've been told. You don't have to disagree with it, but you must question it. Because if you don't, you're just a mouthpiece for like somebody else's point of view, and that's something that we all need to learn.
I also want to add to that too, because I'm glad you brought up the black woman solidarity because yeah, I think it's just a political talking point. And this is major. I don't know if y'all remember Chrisette Michelle. I remember all of this,
Oh
but she
yeah,
was that singer who Trump invited to sing at his inauguration. She was being attacked so hard.
I remember that.
Death threats was coming at her. There was no defense from the black female collective at all defending her. Instead, they were jumping on board, attacking her. Now, like I said, if this was the other way around, where a bunch of Trump supporters or even black men on the right was calling her out, then there would be like these are a bunch of sexist, misogynist, racist attacking a poor little black woman. So they only use that black woman trope on the enemies that white liberals don't like. But when it's the other way around, when it doesn't align with the white liberal ideology, I always got to point out it's that ideology. Then it's fair game. You can go after her. You can say whatever you want. Nicki Minaj is not going to get any defense because it's playing out right now. She's speaking against the white liberal ideology. Therefore, that whole black women come together with the stuff, it doesn't apply to her. So it's fake, man. That's all I got to say.
Well, one thing, the reason why I think Nikki is also getting a ton of backlash is because Nikki has a huge
Oh
following.
yeah.
She tweeted
exactly.
that out to 22 million people, and I think she has another 80 or maybe 90 million people on Instagram, right? And what was interesting to me was that that was something that was brought up by someone, right? In their attack of Nikki, they were like, "How could you spew this nonsense or spew these false information to 22 million people?" Right? But what Nikki said was, the incident that took place with her cousin or cousin's friend or whatever, but she didn't say don't go out there and get the jab, right? Or don't go out
Right.
there and stay away from it. She just said this is what I heard, and you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like I'm just putting that out there, just like any other tweet. But if Nikki didn't have 22 million followers, I don't think the backlash, the criticism would
No,
have been as warranted, would it?
That's true.
not at all. Not at all.
And
It's
so, and another thing, so I do want to touch on this though. So, moving forward, now that it seems like it never stops when it comes to trying to bring collective thoughts and differencing of opinions, right? If you don't stick to the status quo, there's something new that comes out there. So for the last 4 years or the previous 4 years, it was you were a Trump supporter. If you didn't follow by the status quo, you're a Trump supporter. You were banished by the black community. Now it's the V word, right? Like the big thing is centered around the V word, right? I don't want to
That's
put
so
that out
true.
there. And so what is it? Why is it that we're always able to be divided, whether it's black men, black women, the conservative black men or the conservative black woman versus the democratic black man or black woman? Why is it that it seems like always our community is the one that's divided by certain political topics, and we're always the center of certain things that are taking place in the political sphere? This is for either one of you all.
Well,
social.
you want
No,
to go, Tony?
no, I was
Go,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, like, I mean, there's so many elements. There's social engineering. There's intellectual laziness, which is not it's not a black trait. It's an American trait. And if people in this country, especially black people, I really would love to see more black people, black Americans leave this country, go to another country and just experience a more global view. And I think we would understand, we'd be able to see things a little more clearly because the rest of the world is laughing at us. I mean, that's just what that. I mean, we are the love and hip hop of the world, and people watch like
That's
even
true.
our media, like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of that. I mean, you're gonna have to watch BBC. Even though I'm not a big fan, look into media from other countries because you have to get a more grand perspective. Because I believe that this system, this political system, the establishment, this ultra I mean, super crony capitalist system, it thrives upon our inability to think for ourselves. It thrives upon our intellectual laziness. As far as education is concerned in this country, like we lag behind the rest of the industrialized world, yet we lead in confidence in our education. So, I mean, to me, that just says we're delusional. So, people really need we got to let go of the chains of this propaganda machine and start thinking for ourselves.
To answer that question, that was a beautiful answer, brother.
Thank you, brother.
And you touched on a lot of points I was going to touch on. But to answer that question, in my view, black people, African Americans, I don't believe we ever really controlled media. From slaves, we was just set free. I don't think we really have a proper a grasp of how propaganda works, simply
That's right.
because we don't really have any mainstream media platform to distribute it. And every time we try to have a mainstream media platform, it's always bought out. For some reason, a white person or another race sees the potential in that. They're like, wow,
Yeah,
this
they
is a
sell it.
black media platform that got black minds. How about we buy it? And see,
Yep.
this is what African Americans got to understand. Tony, if you was a billionaire and it was a prominent Latino network and you as a black man trying to buy it, they will tell you no based off your race. Because they're like, how can a black man own propaganda that's speaking to Latinos? That makes no sense. But
Yes.
sadly, that's what's going on with black people, like The Root, BET, like Essence, Ebony, all these, every African American that you see on TV, talking
Yep.
on the news, they're all hired by white institutions. This is what's influencing our mind because we're
Yep.
saying just because it's a black person that they're speaking something that's a pro-black agenda when it's not. So that's one of the main reasons why black people are just divided. And yes, another thing is with the Nicki Minaj coming back to her, they don't want black people to be strong and fight back. I think Nicki Minaj's greatest crime is she's actually fighting back and she's actually clowning. She's
Yeah.
actually clowning the people coming for her. She's making it comical. They don't like that. Just look what happened when Nick Cannon tried to fight back,
Yeah.
smacked him down, made that man
Yep.
apologize. They don't like black people standing
Yep.
up, fighting back. You even see what's his name, Kevin Hart, when he was going to host the Oscars.
Yeah.
Some clown brought up something he said 10 years ago that he already apologized for. And Kevin Hart tried to fight back, said, I'm not going to apologize. The next day he apologized. They don't want that type of fighting spirit of black people to say, no, we're
It's
not going
the
to listen
bag,
to you.
brother.
I'm going to stand. Exactly. Yeah, it's the money. Yeah.
It's the
No. And
bag.
they're like, we're going to take this money. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
why the black community is like this, man. And until we stop selling off our media and we stop apologizing for what we say, this is going to keep going.
yep. And it ain't black media if black people don't own it. We need to realize that just because you see black people on camera, that does not mean that they are speaking for your community. Doesn't mean that they're utilizing talking points or their agenda is in alignment with the rest of the community. You got to listen. What's the one that's Univision, right? No, is it the Root? The Root, is that a
The
publication?
root is owned by Univision. That's a Latino company.
Right, that's a white Latino owned organization.
Yeah.
You know,
White
And then
company, yeah.
the BNC, the Black News Channel, is owned by the guy Ashad Khan, who's like Arab.
Oh,
He
really?
owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah,
Is that the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
where
yeah.
Mark Lamont Hill is on
yeah,
that
that's
one?
Mark Lamont Hill.
Yeah,
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 Okay,
yeah.
okay, gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So I
so,
mean,
so it makes sense why our agenda never gets out. It's always controlled by another person from
Right.
a different race. Got our foot in our head. You can only go so much about that pro-black until we smack it down.
And that's the
That's
thing.
how
If
it
you
is.
think black people in media, in any mainstream media, if you think any of the black people that are in the mainstream media truly uh, are committed to the black community and are really speaking up and have true love and commitment to the black community, why don't you ever hear any of that revolutionary talk on any of these stations? Why don't you ever hear these people speaking fiercely in defense of the black community? Even when it comes to this V word, this Maxine word, which I think is ridiculous that we have to even put things in code.
yeah,
That's another indicator of why we need our own media. But even when it comes to that, you know, I see them placating us. I see them uh like talking down to us like we're stupid, you know,
Yeah.
and as a person who can see it, when you can just objectively kind of separate yourself from everything and just look at the grand scheme, it's really frustrating to see people
Frustrating, yes.
continuing to fall for the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes it makes you feel hopeless, you know?
Yeah, and I would
Absolutely.
also say the same thing exists on the right too. So I know we talk about left, but like I said, when I listen to like a Candace Owens, we can say everything bad about the Democratic Party, but then it seems like your
Yep.
solution is just vote Republican. And we know that the Republicans really don't listen to black issues, don't have a black agenda. They're mostly all against reparations. Like,
Right.
if you're going to make black people move to the right, you're going to have to talk to the Republicans to have to include a black agenda, but you can't just tell black people to go to the right. And also, a lot of black conservatives, sadly, like to attack black people. Like, what is that? Yeah, Jesse Lee Peterson. I feel like he just goes
Jesse
out of
Lee
his
Peterson,
way
Yeah,
Larry
but that's
to
the
Elder.
thing.
attack black
Yeah.
people.
Listen,
Like why?
here's the thing, and this is the problem. Like, why is it that it has to always be a choice between
Exactly.
extreme left, extreme right?
Exactly.
Personally, I think
Exactly. That's
Candace
the issue.
Owens is brilliant, but at the same time, I think that she has no integrity because she still props up a lot of right-wing white supremacist talking points, and we can't ignore that. However, when she's on point, she's on point.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
problem is, in today's society, all it takes is for you to disagree with one point of view that a person offers, and you throw them away. That's it. So when you play into these narratives that allow people to label you, you pretty much silence yourself. You silence you stunt your ability to reach certain people. And the easiest way to ignore another person's point of view is by labeling them. That's what we do. You're left wing, you're right wing, you're a Dem, you're all of these labels. And when you label people, all it does is just becomes an excuse for you not to listen to anything that they have to say, no matter how valuable. And that only stops you from growing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, brother, because that's exactly how they control black people. Like, if like we take Ice Cube for a chat, just because in the mere meeting, and I like bringing him up because he's a prime example of a man
Yeah.
who's to both sides.
Yeah.
The mere meeting with Donald Trump, now he's talking to white supremacists. You got some white nationalists agreeing with you. Oh, you just Republican. Name calling. They will not go into anything that he said. They won't even go into his agenda. They don't even go into the reason why he met both sides. That's not even on the table. It's how dare you, black man, go to the other side without our permission? How dare
Yeah.
you? And then,
Yeah.
and then, like, just going back to the black women topic, this is also interesting too with the whole black feminist angle. He was being attacked for not having an addendum in his agenda that has something specifically for black women, as if they're not black people. As if it's like it's separate. See, that right there causes division in itself. But
Absolutely.
we know who's pulling the strings on that one.
Yeah, but even that, I just think even that is just part of the whole societal conditioning of black people to hate each other. We don't trust each other. The moment one of us steps out of line, we're quick to
Oh
attack
man.
each other. But you don't bring that smoke to them white liberals, but you're gonna bring that heat to black men. You're gonna bring it to the black men who dare to step out of pocket with those white liberal agendas. And that's why I say you're not as brave as you think you are, or that you're pretending to be. Because when it comes time for that smoke, please. Y'all
And
not
the
ready
thing-
for that. You
the
rather
thing-
Joyanne Reed, she'll attack Nicki Minaj, but she's not gonna attack any of these white liberals out here who are
Never.
pushing policies that are specifically harming marginalized communities, specifically black communities. So I can't respect people like that.
Why does it make a lot of this? And once again, we're talking about different things in the black society. We started off talking about the pushing of black women to the forefront and to fight battles that honestly they probably shouldn't be fighting. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. What I want to say this too is the lack of communication, lack of being able to change your mind or sway your vote or be swayed is that lack in that not having diversity, all putting all your eggs in one basket takes you away from getting things done, right? Is that right? Because when you're all in on the Democratic Party, or you're all in on Joe Biden, or you're all in on this way, or you're not allowed to take meetings with Donald Trump when he is the president, right? Like, it wasn't like Donald Trump was a candidate or Donald Trump was, you know what I mean, just a
Yeah.
celebrity billionaire. He was the president at the time. Like, last I checked, there were 4 years that man was the president. So taking a meeting with the sitting president shouldn't be an issue. But
Yeah.
that's why you continue to have the same problems. That's why you continue to have to fight the same battles over the last 60 years. That's why you're wondering, why isn't my community, why aren't my people
Right.
advancing? Because you're not allowed to do certain things, or when you do certain things that's different, they not only attack you, they send people that look like you to
Yep.
come out and get you.
Sad, man.
But not only are you putting all your eggs in one basket, but they know you're going to put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes,
You're
yes.
pledging fealty to this party before the election. You telling them, listen, hey, vote blue no matter who. Don't worry, you got my vote. Where is the incentive to do anything for you? Anything that you demand, that you ask? I mean, I think we saw quite clearly the attitude of Joe Biden when it comes to doing things for the black community, when he was chastising Al Sharpton and the other
Yeah,
black
yeah. I was just
so-called
about to
civil
bring that
rights
up.
leaders.
Yeah, I'm glad you
Like,
brought that up.
bro, they don't respect you. And this is what I'm saying. We need to learn how to abandon these quote unquote media, Democratic Party designated black leaders that speak for us. And we need to start propping up a new generation of leaders, because there are a hell of a lot of them. A hell of a lot of them. We got to learn how to we got to take the reins away. And they're not trying to give it up, because
Oh no.
they've built up a great deal of privilege and access that they really cherish. But it's a new day and a new generation. So, we need to do what we need to do to get away from that nonsense.
One of the interesting things about the Trump administration is, I've never, black people started talking about black agendas. They started talking about how both sides was messed up. 2020 was a time where black people were like, no, well, at least online, like the next ones are really talking out, saying, we're gonna have a black agenda, because what the liberals don't like, and I'm not only putting this on liberals. The only reason why I mention liberals, I just make sure the audience understands, is because that's who basically has black thought.
That's the black vote. Yeah,
Right.
that's where the black
Exactly.
vote
If
goes.
this was conservatives, I would shift my focus to them.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
No
saying? So it's
disclaimers
just
necessary,
because they
brother. I
tap.
know how some people
Yeah, yeah. I
are.
just want to make the audience know. Yeah, they're like, this
Yeah.
is on the promo Trump. No, 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 no. It's like I don't have more to add to the Republicans. All you got to do is turn on CNN, the media, listen to how, and they trash them all day. Like, what more can I add to that? But anyways, when it comes to the 22 election and the Democrats, to me, I believe black people missed their biggest moment.
Yep.
I mean, the desperation to get rid of Trump should have been seized. We should have said, okay, we see how important our vote is. We could have asked for reparations. We could have got anything out of that.
Facts.
Even if we went to the Republicans and talked to Trump and at least try to work out a deal, we probably could have got something out of that. But
Yep.
instead, we allowed the media to beat up over and over our heads. And Trump wins, White National's going to
Oh, my
win, the
God.
Proud Boys going to win. And I'm
Shame
like,
you into
was there an
voting.
increase of African Americans dying under Trump? Was there like a rise of just white people whooping up on black people under Trump? It's been the same. Like, our situation hasn't changed. But we allow that to happen. And now, to me, it really doesn't matter anymore, because if the Republican candidate is not as wrathful like Trump, if he's like a Mitt Romney, I don't think anyone would care that Republican candidate wins. But yeah, I just think that black people miss this opportunity. I don't know if it's ever going to come again.
But think about this. You could have vote Democrat. If that's what you were gonna do, fine, vote Democrat. But it doesn't mean that you don't take advantage of this unique opportunity, because we knew how desperate they were to get Donald Trump out of office. So even if you did plan on voting Democrat, did you have to tell them? Did you have to pledge your loyalty to them no matter what? Was that absolutely necessary? And that's what I mean. Like, where's the common sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Oh, they just
it's
clamped down
crazy.
on it. I forget what's the name of that celebrity. I forget her name when she went on Instagram and she was like, "I don't give a f about a black agenda. I don't want to hear none about no black agenda. We
That
just
was
need to get
Amanda
this racist."
Seals.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that was
like
Amanda Seals. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is why
Yeah.
these white liberals pay these black celebrities. They get them when black people are at the height of their intellect. When we're about to start questioning, they get the black elite to just smash it. No, we all need to come together and get rid of this white racist, and then we can try to come up with some black agenda.
Yeah, but you
It
know
doesn't
what?
work that way.
That's another thing too. Trump is racist. Trump is racist. Yeah, he's racist, but Joe Biden is racist too. So for
Exactly,
me,
exactly.
like that's a non-starter. That's pretty much a non-starter for black people. Like, who isn't racist? Like, bro, we should be voting strictly based upon policy, tangibles. What is it that
Always.
we are? And we should not allow people to shame us for demanding something in return for our votes. No other community does that. That would be absurd to even think anything like that. Yet when black people, and let's be honest, typically black men speak up in defense of our community and demanding some changes, or some sort of accountability, or some action on the part of the Democratic Party, we're attacked. We're attacked by everybody. But the most heartbreaking thing for me is to see us always getting attacked by our women and having them placed at the forefront of these platforms to attack us.
Yeah, that's done because like if you try to respond, you're a misogynist. See, that you will
Oh,
not get attacked on what you say. You're going to just be attacked as just some mad black man
yep.
going at the women. And the one thing that I would say that the liberals do well with black women is that they do pop them up. Like I can
Yep.
see why is because they pop them up. Like
It's
there's like white
intoxicating.
people on Twitter calling them queens. Yeah,
Yeah.
giving them jobs, giving them positions high positions. Now, of course, they gotta have that ideology. Of course, they can't just be pro-black. They ain't gonna give them no job. But yes, when you see one party propping up black women like that, it could influence the masses. Like, hey, these people really got my back. So that's the insidious nature of it. The black women who are willing to sell out, just like black men. It's not just black women. It's
Yeah.
black men also.
Hmm.
But the black women are willing to do it because it's easier for them to do it because you can't attack them, otherwise you are misogynist. That's why they prop them up.
It's the desire for acceptance, the desire for monetary gain, the desire to finally be included. So I understand that. Historically we've always been quote denied, but this is not the way to do it, because it's like we're being taught like a every man for himself ideology, while we still pretend to be fighting for the collective. And for me, I think that's like the ultimate betrayal.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that I mean that's absolutely true. If you needed one huge example, just look at the Black Lives Matter organization.
Oh, I was just about to bring them up too,
It was
man.
ran
Yeah.
by three women. I think that
That was
that's not
intentional.
by accident. That was definitely
No.
not by accident. It was definitely by design. Fellas, I've kept you for a long time. I'll let you get your last words. I know you guys have things to do. Once again, we were talking about, all things black people, as we always do right here on the Black Boss channel. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Tony, I'll let you go ahead and go first. Get your final thoughts, and T, you'll be next, and we'll get up out of here.
Well, I mean, I don't really have much to say. I do want to, thank you for, having me on the platform today. If I have any message that I want to maybe put out there, and it would be a message to black women. I don't want black women to think that we're attacking them, or, that we're trying to make them look bad publicly. But at some point, we have to acknowledge that we have to accept accountability and do a little bit of self inventory. And I think the hugest manipulation tactic that has been used against our community is convincing black women that the struggles that they have are similar or the same or akin to what white women have gone through.
Yes.
And they've used that as a weapon to destroy our families. And that's just straight up what it is. I would rather I would rather deal with a person who tells me he hates me to my face than someone that's going to come and hug me and invite my kids over for dinner and all of that while slipping a knife in my back. And to me, that's what the Democratic Party is. And lastly, when it comes to this notion of toxic masculinity, right? This is a phrase that is often used when referring to black men, which I find absolutely ridiculous. But when it comes to this, a lot of people talk about, black women and how they're molested or abused, but we never really talk about the victimization of black boys who are molested and abused technically at a higher rate than girls, and you can look these figures up. So in a lot of these situations, a lot of this abuse does take place in a single mother home. Now, I'm not blaming black women for anything, but we see it all the time. You know, you see these videos of young black boys getting their asses whooped. Who's whooping them? It's their mama doing it. So, you know, we got to think when we're talking about this toxic masculinity, right? Yet, all of the things that we complain about that men do to women or women are doing to our boys, is it masculinity that is toxic? So I'm just saying we got to look a little bit deeper into these things and understand that there are a lot of outside elements that influence the way that we deal with each other in our community. And we cannot always, scapegoat it to something that stems from our community.
Absolutely, absolutely. T. Khalik, your final words.
Excellent, excellent. I just want to add on because sometimes women can watch it and say, well, what about like what Tony brought up with the molestation thing? And what I would like to say is that could be put a dent in if we really just repair the black family.
Come
But
on.
if we keep talking in the independent matter where I gotta be super independent as a woman, I don't need no man,
Mm.
then a man is not gonna be there to protect you. You gotta look at the man in his physique, like or any male animal. They are strong. They are meant to be defenders and attackers if necessary. Like if someone breaks into your home, it's not gonna. You are going to rely on that man. It's
Right,
our
baby, get behind me,
testosterone that
baby.
stops us exactly, and that stops us from being fear and just go for it. Even in a situation where we may not win, if our family's not there, we know we have to fight to the death, and we're not going to cry. We're going to have to do it. So what we have to understand is that if you take that element out, if your men are emasculated, then anyone could just come in and do anything they want to you as a woman. You have nobody to protect you. This is why we need to talk in a pro-black family and not pro, myself individual.
That's
Let's
right.
just be separate. And the other thing is, what women have to understand is, it may be empowering that black women are leading Black Lives Matter or these protests or marches, but you got to understand how men look at it, especially if your angle is to go after the white man. Men are not scared of a bunch of women yelling. It's just not a threat. No one is scared of that. Like it's like okay, it's almost like he can take them all on. And I'm being serious. But this is why they prop women up to do that because it's not a threat to. It's not a serious threat. It's not. No one is scared of that. I'm telling you, if a bunch of black men got together and got serious and was ready for war, that is a serious threat because it takes a man to take down another man. That's just the truth. The man takes down the other man, and then he gets to pillage whatever wars, whether women, children, whatever. That's just how it is. So we have to understand that we need our black men, women. Like this is not a sexist thing to say we don't need you because we do need you to raise the kids. But the way that the white media is pushing us is to take out the black man so they can do whatever the heck they want with you. And yeah, we just reject that. We can put a dent in a lot of the social issues that we have.
Let's stop using the enemy's weapons against each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, T, for coming in tonight. And for more conversations like this, you can meet us at the All Black National Convention that'll take place at the end of October, October 29th through November 1st. Tune in. There's virtual tickets. You can get your tickets. Join with us down in Orlando. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a good night. Peace.